They say when a baby is born, so is a mother. But while you are there to help your baby grow into the person he or she is meant to be, who is there to help you? Many women feel lost and alone when they become mothers, wondering, who am I now? Sometimes it feels like the transformation from woman to mother is as radical as a caterpillar's transformation into a butterfly. Did you know that inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar literally turns into goop before it rearranges itself into a butterfly? This podcast is about the goop, what soul transformation looks like as you transition from being a woman to a mom, and all the transformations that continue to inform our motherhood experience. Your child's growth matters, but yours does too. I'm your host, Brittany Ming. Welcome to the Motherhood Metamorphosis. Welcome to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. I'm your host, Brittany Ming, and today we're talking to Amy Betters-Midvedt. Amy is a Today Parenting contributing author with more than 1 million readers and 25 years of experience working with adolescents and families. In both her job as a literacy coach and in her personal life, where she and her husband Todd wrangled their 5 children. Amy has a master's degree in leadership, curriculum, and instruction, and began her writing journey when she launched her website and social media in 2016. Her work has appeared in many publications online, including Huffington Post, Parents Magazine, Your Teen Magazine, as well as in So God Made a Mother by Leslie Means and The Undomestic Goddess by Jen Mearns. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram, and much to her teenagers' delight, TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, so I think you're super brave for being on there.
They keep making me, and then it's like, oh, but that wasn't great.
You're like, you're so cringe, mom. Don't do that.
Yeah, they're like, but you need to be over there, but you need to be cooler. So yeah, they're like supporting my career, but also needing me to like be different.
Yes, just be different, mom. So we are both moms of 5. Can you tell me how old your kids are?
Okay, so we've got 23, 21, 19, just turned 17, and 13.
Okay, so you have like 1 foot out of the teenage years with your older kids and 1 foot in the teenage years.
Yes,
So
we're like straddling. Where are yours?
So I have 16-year-old twins. They're about to turn 17. We're about to move into the birthday season. So they're juniors in high school. And then I have a little guy. Well, he's not so little. He's getting bigger. He's going to be 12.
Okay.
So we're on the cusp of that teenage.
You're there. Yep, you're there.
And then I have a 9-year-old who's like the sweetest little guy. And then I have my daughter Grace, who's 5. So I'm kind of like the opposite end. So I've got one foot in the teenage years and 1 foot in the little kid years still.
Yes.
So we're kind of like in that messy middle with our your youngers and my olders.
Yes, I remember this well. Yes. It's a good time for your heart though, because you have kids that still like a 5-year-old girl. Come on. That's just like, that's what I need in my life. That's the energy.
She is the sweetest. So you just wrote a book and it is doing amazing. I'm seeing it all over social media. It's called You'll Make It and They Will Too. Everything no one talks about when you're parenting teens. And we were talking before the interview started and I said, oh my gosh, I just need this in my life because I'm just struggling with my teens right now. So I just want to hear your story of how you came about the idea for this book and the writing process and what you hope parents will take away from it.
Absolutely. Well, this book, I actually was like, I say it's a birthed in one of my friends, like family rooms. And we were all sitting around and with some writers, people that I know you know as well. And just kind of doing that circle that writers sometimes do, bouncing ideas off. And I had several other ideas for a book, but we found we had been talking about that a lot over the course of the weekend. And my kids were older than others. So that was, if the people were like, you know what, all the stuff we're talking about, why don't you write that for your book? I'm like, okay, well, I could try that. And then from there, it just flew, because what I really realized was, in addition to like my personal life, having all these teenagers, I'm also an educator, and I was working now with middle school kids and high school kids. And I started to realize I just have a heart for these people. I love teenagers. I love them so much, but they also are killing me. Right. And those moments when they were killing me were the moments I felt like I needed to write about, because those are the moments we feel just the most alone, right? Like there is no way anyone else is nobody else's kid has done this thing. Nobody else is feeling like this, because we're not talking about it anymore. As parents of teens, we can't really tell all their stories. But so then sometimes we feel like we can't share our own feelings about what's happening. So all those moments where I felt really alone, I just thought, I wish I had something to turn to in this moment when I'm sitting outside my teenager's bedroom door and they won't let me in and I need to be in and I'm dying, right? And I have no idea what's going on. I wanted something I could turn to in those moments. So that's how I actually ended up structuring the book, was in just these different phases and places that I felt like I had been in with my own teenagers, starting with those first slammed doors or those first moments where suddenly I was uncool, all the way through to launching. And then it's everything in between and the coming back, because they also
Mm.
come back, which is a whole thing I didn't know, which gives you your own set of feelings again. So I really just wanted it to be that resource that parents could turn to and say, my kids are having friend problems. Okay, I'm going to this chapter. I'm not sure if my kid needs help with mental health. I'm going to this chapter. So that was just my whole dream.
Yeah, I think that whenever I think about having teens, I think when I have twins, they're boys, and so when they were little, they were really challenging because they were twins and they were boys, and they I didn't know they had ADHD. Like we were going through like this diagnosis process, and that's like a long time coming, and so I was just really struggling, and I kept thinking, okay, maybe because they're so hard now. I'll get a break when they're teenagers. Like somehow like karma will work in my favor. Like I've paid my dues. No,
No,
no. It has not worked
false.
out that way. It has gotten even harder. And
Mhm.
I know people hate hearing that because I'm the mom who's like, just wait. Actually, I don't say that to people, but
Right.
inside I'm just like, I should have told myself, just wait.
Like,
Just gonna
enjoy
get
this
harder.
problem.
Yes,
Enjoy this problem. Right.
yes.
Right.
Yes. So I don't know. Like, I think I, my husband and I this summer, we were going through a big transition with a move. And I know that my teen was struggling, but it wasn't like your teens don't come to you and say things like, Mom, I'm really struggling. And can we talk about it? They
That'd
don't.
be great.
They act ugly to everyone.
Yeah.
They're rude. They get in physical altercations with siblings.
Oh, yes.
Hypothetically, this is maybe what
That
happened this summer.
that could happen. That could happen
Yes,
in
that
some
could
people's.
happen. So it's like in my mind, I'm like, okay, this kid is struggling with transition, but the behavior that's coming out, you're like, this is unacceptable. And we cannot be doing these things. This attitude is just making the whole family atmosphere toxic
Yes.
and it's ruining sibling relationships and parent-child relationships and teen relationships. And it's just so hard because every day you go through the talk and you're like, okay, this can't happen again. We really need you to change. And then the next day you just go through it again and again and
Right.
again. So
Right.
does that
It's
relate to you? Does that
it
relate?
it is so difficult. Yes, because they're not able, and like we know this with brain research, right? We know what's happening. Like you said, we get it. Like I understand your frontal lobe is not there yet. Like a lot of times I'm like, okay, the frontal lobe, Amy, just remember the brain is not there. Like this is behavior that is helping them work things out, but it also is sometimes crosses that line into unacceptable. And so we had to help them find that line, and we have to find the right consequences that help them find that line sometimes, right? Like, where's that boundary so that when they shove up against the boundary, we're unmovable, right? And no matter how many times you shove up against it, because it'll be a lot of times. And especially if you have kids with any kind of neurodiversity, we have ADHD in this house too. And so it's like double the times, right? Of the average bear's brain. So that is, I think you hit the nail on the head. That's one of the most difficult things, is trying to figure out how do we do these things and find the right thing, because each kid's also different. I'm sure even like your twins will need different boundaries, different consequences for, and probably are dealing with their struggles that maybe even come out differently. So that's like even harder, because you find one thing that works for a kid and you're like, got it. No, you don't have
No,
it, because now
you
you have
don't got
another.
it.
You don't got it. Like there's going to be another kid and then the next kid. And with five, I mean, it's like we're in a marathon, because and every single kid is going to be different and give us different challenges and need something different from us. So it's such a struggle. And that age, oh my gosh, that age of boy, who said that age of boy was easy? People used to say that to me. Oh,
No.
teenage boys are easy. Your girls are going to give you a run for your money. I mean, not that my girls haven't. I certainly have, but I have found boys to be equally, but in a totally different way.
Yeah, I've heard that whole thing too. Thank goodness you have boys. And I'm like, tell me, give me a list of like well-researched reasons why this is going to be easier for me because I
100%.
really need some hope right now.
Yeah. Because they are so physical. They are so physical. Stuff is broken. Like it's just always a thing, like a body thing. Yeah.
So you talked about teens being different. So I had my one twin who was very kind of acting out, in a big ways. My other twin is very quiet. And so when I ask him, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine." Or "Yeah." Just like one word answer. And so I have this little mother voice in me that's like, is he really okay? Is he talking to, like, what's going on inside of him? Like, what if he's really like struggling and he's not talking to me? But if I push him and push him and push him and question, then he gets irritated. So that's another spectrum. Like, you've got the acting out on one hand, and then on the other hand, like they don't talk to you at all. So I
No,
feel like that's really challenging too with teens.
it's so challenging. And that I read in the book about like waiting for that door to be open and figuring out how to get that door open with your teenager, because I feel like I did that so much. And the story is in the book, so I feel like I can tell it about my son. But like there was a time where he was going through something really hard, and he literally didn't tell me about it for almost a year. Like that's how long I knew something was wrong. He acknowledged something was wrong. He would tell me, "I'm okay, mom, but I cannot talk about it." And that boundary was like that he was setting with me was so difficult because I wanted to know and I felt like I needed to know to comfort myself, right? Which
Mhm.
is different than comforting him. So
Mhm.
I had to figure out, okay, is this a me need or a he need? And then how can I support him still and be sure he's okay? I and I do think there's a line there where we start to really worry. And when I did feel like he crossed that line, it was like, well, you are going to go talk to somebody else about this, like a professional person, so that I can get we can calibrate that you're fine. Because it had gone on for so long. And he was fine. They were like, he's okay. And then eventually he told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is how we're going to roll. Like it's really difficult because you have to go there like a separate human person.
Yeah. I think you hit on something really important there. It's the, am I asking because I want you to be okay, dear teen, or is it because I need to be okay? And I think the needing reassurance that I, as a mother, need to be okay, like crosses that boundary into like codependence. Like,
Dependent,
I
right?
can't be, yeah, I can't be okay if you're not okay. And so it's
Right.
like, I have to fix my teen. I have to fix their attitude or fix their feelings or fix their face,
Yes.
whatever
Yeah.
is like down.
Yeah.
I have to fix them so that I can feel better, not necessarily
Absolutely.
because I want them to be better, but it's because
Right.
I want to feel better. And I think that's so hard to pull back as a mom and be like, I, as a woman, am okay, even
Yeah.
if you are struggling, and I can offer myself up to you for help
Yes.
and support and
Yes.
availability if you want to talk. But
Mhm.
I have to be okay emotionally and mentally, even if my child is not. And that is so hard as a
Oh my
mom.
gosh. It is ridiculously difficult. That is, I would say one of the biggest things that I have had to work on. And I had a moment where I was going through something with one of my older kids, and the older kids, like really their problems sometimes can be big. So it's not like, so it is sometimes really difficult to be okay when they're not okay. And I ended up I've been saying like, get a teenager, get a therapist. Like, and so that is, has been true for me because I was having such a difficult time with just that very thing. And so one of the things that's really helped me is just repeating like, I'm okay. Because what I found out was I was holding all of these things that were happening to my teenager as if they were happening to me. My body was experiencing that. And so I had to say, like, your grades were great in college, Amy. You passed. Like you have a degree, you have a job. Like this isn't happening to you, right? Like they're gonna be okay. Like they've got their grades are not where you want them and not where they want them. And it feels like a tragedy, but it's their tragedy and they have to actually experience it and feel it themselves so that they get the consequence and they learn the lesson. Otherwise, I'm taking it on as if it's happening to me and then also trying to fix it, which keeps them from learning the lesson. So just sitting, I actually have had to pull over in my car. Someone called me. I pulled over in the parking lot of the grocery store and just sat and said, "This isn't happening to you. You are fine. Here are the things that you have. Like you have children, you have a husband, you have a house, you're paying your bills, you're whatever, And I just had to remind myself all the ways that I was fine. And that little strategy has helped me so much to just remind myself that we are separate. They need to feel it. I need to be okay over here and be kind of a more of a rock for them.
That is so practical. And I just love hearing you say that because I think a lot of times as moms, we don't know that other people are struggling that way. And
Right.
or you hear that like, I am struggling that way and I don't know what to do about it. Or we think this is what good moms do. Good
Right.
moms take on their children's problems. Good moms care. This is how I'm caring for my child.
Right.
At the same time, like we aren't caring for ourselves. We aren't caring for our own emotional health and our mental health. And if we are not well and healthy, we're just going to spiral along with them. And then
Yes.
nobody is the mature adult who has wisdom,
Yes.
experience, and we
Amen.
aren't helping anybody in that situation.
Amen.
So I think
Yes.
changing that narrative of like, this is what caring moms do, or this is how I'm caring for them, or
Oh,
like, I think
I,
that we have to care for ourselves. So
and that you said it exactly, because at first I was like, but that's not, isn't it? Aren't I being loving? I feel like I'm being really loving and really caring and really just there for them. And that was the opposite. Actually, I couldn't be there for them because I was doing exactly what you said, spiraling. Mm. And if we can get ourselves real solid, that feels, and it also is a good model, right? As our kids get older, like they watch us take care of ourselves. They watch us, do that also in service to the family. Like it's not just for me, it is actually for everybody. That makes you feel better. So that made me feel better. Like I'm still serving my people, but I am doing this, in order to have the best possible situation I can. And then they watch that and they think it's okay. Wow, if I am really off the rails, what are some of the things I've seen, my parents do? And they can kind of, pull themselves into a healthier cycle.
yeah, I think that's really good. I'm gonna give the like the other side of the coin of the situation. So we had a really rough night with our teenagers the other night. My son came home. I had spent a long time cooking. I made roast chicken. I made these like little cheesy potato balls where I like rolled them all individually and green beans. Okay, that the potato ball thing was kind of a Pinterest fail, but they tasted really good.
That sounds
So
delicious.
my son comes home from band, immediately picks a fight with the sibling that he can't stand, and then takes one look at the dinner and starts pulling stuff out of the freezer to make his own food. And I was just like the
Yeah.
rage was like building up in me. And then my other son ate some food, and then he's like, I'm done with this food. I'm gonna eat pot stickers from the freezer. And so I turned around to them and I'm like, guys, I realize that you're hungry, but when you don't eat the food I make, that really hurts my feelings.
Yes.
And they didn't acknowledge me at all, and they kept making the food. And so then I was just like even more angry. And so then I had to take my other kid to karate, and by the time I got home I was just in this like exhausted, pissed off stage, and it made bedtime for my little ones just like really hard. And so I was just like mad. I was telling my daughter to hurry up, finish brushing your teeth, pick a book already, and like, so it's so hard to be like, my interactions with my teen really make me spiral as a parent. And then that floats out into parenting your other children if you have other children. And so that's why that reset is so important, because what I needed to do was just go to bed, like
Sometimes that's all we
sleep.
need. We put
Yeah.
ourselves to bed.
Yes.
Yes.
But like, I just want to acknowledge that that's a scenario that happens so often with parenting teens. It just doesn't affect the teen and the parent. It like can affect the entire family because
Yes.
the frustrating, I don't know, like them just being disregarding of the food I made for the family.
Right.
And just like, okay,
I,
somebody just cooked for you. Oh, and then my son said, I have to hurry up and make dinner so I can do homework. And my husband like literally yelled at him, your mother made dinner for you. You don't have to
right.
make dinner. And then he like wouldn't say anything. He just like kept making his own dinner. And I'm just like, ah, like it was just so infuriating.
It's so hard. Yes, and it does filter into everybody. And it can be hard. Like I have one who's very sensitive and tries really hard to like make sure things are running well. And so if I go off the rails on somebody else, this kid will really be trying to fix, or trying to be like, get us back on track. Or sometimes I will then be snappy with everybody. And so they will think, oh, that's me. What did I do? And then I'll get the text and I'm like, oh goodness, no. But then it's also like you're still kind of in that state, right? So I do think you're exactly right. Like there was one time when I was writing the book and no one would leave me alone. And like I was like 1 hour, I need 1 hour in the basement. They kept coming down for just the things, right? Like, dumb. Can I, make the rice that's in the pantry? What? I care, right? Like over and over and over. And I lost it. And I got in my car and I drove to Starbucks and got my favorite drink. I drove to the grocery store and got my favorite snack. And I parked behind the middle school where I work, took a nap, slept for 45 minutes, fed myself, right? And only that I had to turn off my life 360 because I knew if I went through Starbucks and they saw me, they'd start asking me for drinks.
I want
Even though I,
Starbucks. Give me Starbucks.
yeah, even though I knew I had lost it, because I was like, I am out. Like, you know what I mean? I was just a bear. And I do think what you're speaking to is, I came back a new person. So I learned, like, do that faster, Amy. Don't wait till you're a raving lunatic, to give yourself that time out wherever you can. It can be so hard when you have littles too, and then you have to do bedtime. You have to do karate. It's
Yeah.
like you can't really nap behind the middle school. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be a strategy
Yeah.
for later for you.
So I don't know if anybody's listening and they're in that stage, I'm just acknowledging it's really hard. There's not a good solution.
Hard.
I hope that one day they throw a dinner party and somebody comes over and just goes through their freezer and eats other food. And then they'll know, oh, that really hurts people's feelings.
And they will, because they do get older and they start to know. I'll tell you, my bigs look back and they're like, that was so rude. I cannot believe I did that. And I also think there's that opportunity in there for repair too, right? Like when we come back into the situation, when I came back into the house, I could apologize first, like for my reaction. Like I shouldn't have yelled. I should have, I should not have slammed the door and told you all that you were driving me, whatever. But also, like, here's some of the things that you guys did as well in this situation that I just like to talk about because I feel like we're not communicating well because I said this thing and then all this stuff happened. So like, how can we not have that happen again? And that can be a really productive conversation sometimes with our teenagers, where if we wait until we're out of the situation, it's 2 days later, a day later, especially with sometimes our guys I need a little space. And then we can talk about it. And sometimes we can then make a new plan with them and help them to start to see in this moment, or at least lay the groundwork. It might take 7 times of telling them, like, when you make dinner and I've already made dinner, you guys remember, like, that's a thing. Like, let's talk about how we can work out the food situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you're talking about repair. And I think that is so important. But especially if you're on your first teenager, coming back to repair feels so awkward,
Mhm.
especially if you have not practiced it earlier in parenting. So maybe people are listening and they're like, I don't have teens yet. I have a 9-year-old, or I have an 11-year-old, or I have a 2-year-old. Like something that I'm just really grateful that I did younger years, which was not modeled for me at all
Yeah.
in my own parenting. So I felt like I had to practice a lot to make it a normal thing instead of like the worst experience was going back to my kids and being like, hey, I'm sorry I yelled. I overreacted. And I
Yes.
work really hard to say, not to say, but you were being a lunatic. Like, I don't,
Yes.
I really try hard not to say that. I just focus on myself. I'm just like, I shouldn't have yelled. I
Yep.
overreacted. That's not the kind of parent I want to be. And I
Yes.
just want to say, I'm sorry. And sometimes they say,
Yes.
well, will you forgive me? And like 95% of the time, my kids are like, no. And I'm like, okay. And like that's accepting that they're still mad. And sometimes I come
Yep.
back when they're still mad. But
Yep.
I have noticed because I've done that from when they were little that my teens will come back to me, usually in a text. They'll say, I'm sorry
Yes.
for I'm sorry for being an asshole. That's what they usually
Yeah.
say. I'm sorry for being an asshole. And I'm like, thank you for your apology. And I usually
Yeah.
just leave it at that. Like, we don't have to rehash it again. I don't have to
No.
go all over the fine points of like why you were an asshole. Like, it's
Right.
just accepting that there was repair, and I
Yes.
think that is what helps you get through the teen years is
It
those
does.
little moments of repair. Because if you don't, you just feel like we're breaking apart. I'm never going to see this child again after they're 18.
Yes.
Like I
Yeah.
just spiral and like go down this whole like
Yeah.
everything is terrible and like they're on
Yes.
a bad path. They're going to go to jail. Like I
Oh,
don't know, all
100%.
these things. So I
Oh,
think
worst case scenarios. Yes.
yes. So the catastrophizing I think can be remedied with repair.
Agreed.
And that has to come from the parent. Like
It
the
does.
parent is the one who has to do that.
Yes.
Even if the child was the one who started it, sometimes I'm the one who finishes it. And
Yeah.
to come back and say, hey, I didn't act in my best self, and I just want to acknowledge that. And that's not the person I want to be
Yeah.
to you. And
Yes.
that gives them a model for saying, I know the words I can say to repair this relationship. I want to be in connection because teens do want to be in connection with their parents.
They
Nobody
do.
wants to be in conflict all the time.
No, no, but they will do things that keep you in conflict if you don't come in and repair, just by the nature of what they are going through as human people. So you are exactly right. And I learned that lesson way too late, I think, with my oldest. Like we stayed in conflict. And in my book, I call her the first pancake. And that first pancake, you know, when you're trying to figure out the temperature and all the business, it doesn't always turn out right the best because you're not sure what this all needs to be. And so for her, it's funny that I find myself still sometimes in repair randomly. Like I will go to her and just say, she's 23. I'm like, gosh, I am just so sorry. I grounded you for that long at this time or whatever. And she's like, you're still mom, it's okay. But I still feel like that sense of regret that I wasn't able to show up as my best self for a while for her. And now we've got a great relationship, and she's actually one that's moving home for the year. So she was one I thought she's going to leave this house and never, ever come back. And she's back. It's great. But we had to go through a serious amount of repair because if you don't repair on the spot, and it builds up, and I would say with her, it built up over a good solid year at least of just butting heads. And my expectations being that she would apologize or that she should be correcting herself at all time, right? Instead of being in that connection in that relationship. And so then that repair time, it can still be done. So if you feel like you're stuck in it, and you're like, I have not apologized to my teenager and they're 17 and we are stuck in this loop, it is absolutely never too late to go in and just say, listen, I don't like how this is going. Can we talk about a different relationship? And I'm sorry that I have not, that I have not been able to connect with you better, or I've done some things that have kept us out of connection. And I do think eventually, even if they at first are still just laying that groundwork, can bring you into repair even years in.
Yeah. I know that I feel like that can be so healing. Even if you have kids in your 20s, maybe even later in life. Maybe there's older moms listening to this. I'm like, my kid's 30 and we had such rough teenage years.
Yes.
And I now see things clearer about myself and about the teen and about the situation. And I think that there's never a wrong time to seek repair. But that
Never.
sometimes even just the apology doesn't mean things are going to get better, but it's a first step to like knitting your connection back together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
I know that I've also said to my kids, I'm like, how can I help you? I'm like, and they're like, I don't know. And they're just like real mad. And I'm like, okay, if you don't know, and we can give you suggestions, but if you don't want to take them, like that's up to you. But just let us know when we would like to help. Like we would like to be there for you once you
Yes.
figure out what you need. And that kind of like makes yourself available, but it doesn't lay down this, you're going to do this, 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 and this to get your act
Absolutely.
together because you can't make them get their act together. And I think
No.
that's also such a frustrating part of parenting. Like, I cannot make my kids rinse the salad bowl
No.
so that there's not lettuce floating in the dishwasher. Like, I tell them that every single time we have salad, like, don't
Yeah.
put lettuce in the dishwasher. And today I was cleaning out lettuce from the
Yeah.
dishwasher. Like, I can't make them
No.
do it right. I just have to keep reminding them and just like not lose my mind because they can't rinse the lettuce bowl. But like, if I can say, I'm here when you're ready, I think
Yes.
that can open the door to connection as
Yes.
opposed to just laying down a law or telling them. And I have to, this is me talking to myself too, because I
Absolutely.
can lay down a law and I'm like, why can't you just load the dishwasher? Like, rinse the lettuce.
It's not that hard, people.
Yes,
But
exactly.
it is. And then accepting that too, because I see that like a lot with my kids that are moving home now. Because actually I'll have all 5 kids home for a year, which is
That's a lot, Amy. I'm thinking of you. Blessings.
it is really an unseen. I mean, I could not have seen this coming for all the things. So we are having to like deal with all those little pieces of living together, right? Like I feel like the dishwasher is just like a hot button. Mom was like, "Who loaded it this way? Everything's gonna break," right? But everybody also has their own way. So sometimes it is too accepting, like it's just this is their way. And like, okay, guys, there's lettuce in the dishwasher. You're gonna wherever you are, come get it out, right? Like, whatever it is, whatever hill you got to die on. And maybe that's not the right one, but I have found like I am pretty choosy about the hills I die on with them because I want to keep us in connection and I want us to be in community. And so we start to kind of shift to that roommate, right? Like, how would I treat my roommate? And that I find then kind of leaked down a little bit to my younger kids where I'm doing that a little bit more with them. And they are a little bit more receptive than to suggestion or to just to those moments of connection. Although I will tell you, for whatever reason, I'm going to say it, and I don't know if everyone in the world feels this way, but cleaning the kitchen in teenagers is like legitimately the worst.
It is
Anything to
the
do with the
worst.
dishwasher, the sink, they don't ever like, there's one part of the countertop. No, I call it the L. They cannot wipe off the L. Like I will just be like, did you get the L? Yeah. No, there's like dirt and food all over it. Do they not see it? I do not understand. Does
I
that
know.
not count how the globe is all the way developed?
I don't know. It drives me crazy. Like my teens, like they switch off jobs for like
Yeah.
unloading, loading. Somebody's supposed to wipe the counters and stove. Somebody's
Yeah.
supposed to put the food away. They cannot do it all
No,
ever in one night.
no,
And the other day,
no.
my son was like, "You expect me to be perfect the first time?" I'm like, "Well, this is more like the 6,000th time. You've been doing this for like 6 years, so you don't have that excuse of like being perfect the first time. Like you kind of have expectations." And I've tried to like pass off the responsibility to the posted list
Oh
and
yeah.
all these things so that I'm not the one telling him. No, it doesn't work.
No,
Nothing
no,
works.
no,
They,
nothing. I don't have any magic for anybody in that
I don't
department.
know.
Just
That
go with
is
God, friends. It's
it's
just, I guess it'll always be a disaster. I don't know.
so frustrating.
So frustrating. It is like, it is just the most frustrating thing. Yeah. And then I clean the
Uh,
kitchen in 10 minutes and then I brag. I'm like, I just did this in 10 minutes. Look at everything's wiped off, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, great. Nobody cares.
they don't.
Like, great, mom.
Guess I'll just have to do it myself.
It's so sad. So I don't want to do it.
I know. Well, Amy, I have loved this conversation today. I really hope that people will pick up your book. I know people are going to love it. I know it's going to be a breath of fresh air. And I just appreciate your honesty and your stories and just coming on and telling us all about raising teens. And, some of them are in your 20s. So, like, you did make it, and they will
I
too.
did make it. And they will too. I will tell you, and I want, you can cut this out if you need to, but one of the cutest things that happened when our basement flooded is that, well, a bunch of like the kids' books got ruined. And so my son, Sam, who's 13, sent me pictures of the ruined things. He was very sad because a bunch of it was his stuff when he was little. And I was like, Sam, that's so sad. He's like, I know, mom. But what do you say? You'll make it and we will too.
That's cute.
So cute. I was like, I love you, Sam. Thank you for quoting almost my book title back to me. But I felt like that was a good moment. 13-year-old
Yes.
boy.
You're like, that was a good connection. You understand me.
You understand me. You understand my work. You understand me. And you give me a little humor in the middle of a flood. Like, who could ask for more? We'll hold on to that moment through the next year as things get really crazy.
So, to end our time, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is one thing you're doing to enjoy your life this week?
I am really actually working on this week being present because I feel like things have been like a whirlwind. And actually, right before this, I was laying on my yoga mat. I did a little yoga class and thought, Amy, your goal this week has to be, it's so funny you would ask this, is to be present and be in the moment. We have a lot going on, and a lot of it is like running errands and getting things together and all those little pieces. And that can feel like clutter in our lives, like, oh, stuff we just have to do. But as we are about to start a new school year, I really want to be present in these last days, even if we're running errands, even if we're doing those little things, and just try to find those moments where we can connect and maybe have some fun and get a coffee in the middle of the mayhem, right? And just be present with my people.
I love that. That's really important. And that's something that I want to work on too.
Oh
All
my
my
God.
kids are in school, so I feel like I have a little more room to breathe, but
Oh,
like it is good to
jealous,
just be
jealous.
like, this is my moment. This is what I'm doing, and I'm just going to try to enjoy my life. So,
Yes. Yep.
which is super hard when you have the teens who are driving you absolutely bonkers.
Super hard when you're wiping lettuce out of a dishwasher.
Yes, so much
Really
lettuce.
hard to like be present and enjoy life. So much lettuce. Why?
Where can we find you online?
Okay, so you can find me. I have a website. It's just amybettersmidvet.com. And that would link you to all my socials, but that's also all I am on socials is just my name, amybettersmidvet.com. And Midvet's really hard to spell. So usually, even if you spell it wrong, you'll find me. If you get an Amy Betters in there, you should be good. But I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, trying to be on there more. And you can treat yourself to a random TikTok like every 10 days right now.
We'll need to look up your TikTok so that we can tell your kids that you're doing great.
Mike can like give me a compliment. Just so I can see that I have a compliment on TikTok.
Yes,
It
yes.
can be fake. And I will know it's fake. Like it will just be like our thing. That would be great. Anybody that wants to.
Thank you so much for being here today, Amy. I really
Thank you
appreciate your
so
time.
much. Always great talking to you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. Next, tell your friends. Podcasts are a slow growth type of social media, so promo works best when it's from person to person. If you know another mom who's in the goop right now, send her a text of encouragement and the link to the episode that is speaking to your heart right now. If you have a story about your own matrescence, the physical, emotional, hormonal, and social transition that occurs when someone becomes a mother, please leave a comment below. I want this channel to be a place where women can build community about the challenges and joys of their own motherhood metamorphosis. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope it encouraged you and gave you some good food for thought. If you ever have any questions, comments, or you'd like to reach out to me personally, you can email me at brittanyaming@gmail.com. All right, let's get started.
Yep.
Welcome everyone to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. Oh wait, we're going to start over.